I actually have this on a timer. The reason is I'm working with this little tiny compressor. It's only 4 gallons. It takes 10 minutes to fill up to 100 psi. It's been ridiculous, guys. I can't believe I actually did this whole thing with this little compressor. But I'm pretty much done doing my PVA mold release. I only have a little section to go, so I wanted to film that with show you guys what I'm doing. I don't know if you can tell on the camera where it's shiny here and it's dry here, and it's kind of, it looks kind of wet right here, and it's kind of dry on this section here. And I don't know if you can see in the camera, there's little speckles. Look. So this is my second coat, and the reason I'm having to redo this again because my first coat did not come out as I was hoping, as I had planned. The reason is because this guy here cannot spray a big area before this thing depletes all of its air. So I've been having to do this entire things in little tiny sections with 10-minute intervals. So the spray is like 30 seconds, and then I have to wait 10 minutes for this thing to spray. I haven't really like stuck around for 10 minutes, so I'll come in and spray a little tiny section and then go off and do something and then come back in a couple minutes. So I've been doing that all day today, just spraying little tiny sections at a time. This thing, it'll spray a good nice mist like I want it for like a couple seconds, and then it'll just start spattering. I'm almost done. I did the whole thing, so I just need to do this little section here and this section here. The goal here is I'm trying to get this really thin film. It's got to be a continuous, really thin film. The whole purpose of the PVA is to prevent the fiberglass resin from sticking onto the board. So check this out, guys. I've been having a kind of hard time. See if I can do this with one hand here. So I'm gonna continue. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm gonna continue from that section and then work my way here. I already did the inside of the triangle there, so I don't need to do that part. Let's see. So I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm trying to get this really fine consistency here, and you won't be able to hear me in a minute because the compressor is going to kick on, but 60 psi. So I'm trying to get this really thin, wet coat of this PVA stuff. A full, consistent coat that will flow all the way. So see, now it's starting to just kind of spatter. So now it's not giving me that coat, and that's it. That's all the area I'm able to do in this little bit of, you see the PSI has depleted already. It's all gone down to 30 PSI, which is nothing. So now it's just kind of spattering now. So what's happening is I'm not getting a continuous sheet, so continuous flow. So now I have to wait 10 minutes for this thing to regenerate. and I've pretty much gone through almost this whole thing here. Got a little bit left in here. Went through almost that whole thing to do this entire board. So next I'm just going to let it dry overnight, and then I'm going to start laying up my first layer of fiberglass resin, but just the resin, not the fiberglass. The first layer is going to be just pure resin, because since that's going to be the surface of my part, I don't want the fiberglass mat to kind of show through. Alright, so it's morning time. I just peeled this one off, so I actually just kind of peeled it off, but you know, it's pretty hard now. You know, I have a bubble right there, so you know, a bubble, this kind of stuff is stuff we want to avoid on the mold. You know, this stuff it worked out pretty good, so it just took a little longer to dry because it is kind of cold in here. You know, so I have this door here, it's not insulated, it's got that air gap up there, but I have this heater, this giant boiler here that's, you know, running 24/7 to heat up those water tanks. Those are just water tanks, those are not boilers. That's the only boiler, and then it holds the water tank, so it does stay relatively warm in here throughout the night, even though it's like frigid outside. Let's see, so this is a good sample experiment, because I want to be able to see what's my working time for my boards, and you know, at what temperature will it dry, if it even dries, will it cure, and all that stuff. So you know, these little sample pieces here are very important. You always have to do a sample before you start building a large area. So alright, so it was a successful you know, trial, I would say. I was gonna do half, but it turns out that I have plenty of time before this stuff dries. So I'm just gonna do the whole thing. I'm just gonna pour it, you know, just pour the whole thing on the board and then just roll it with my roller. Alright, this stuff is pretty sticky, so I'm gonna use my apron on this one. Alright, so I'm going to make another batch of this. So 1 quart is 32 ounces. So I'm going to do the same ratio, 32 ounces with half an ounce of catalyst. Alright guys, I think that's it. It's got a nice thick first layer of resin. So this is gonna probably take a couple hours to set. So I'm just gonna give it an entire day. So this is this is it for today. Just one coat of resin, one thick coat of resin. Alright guys, so we're back. It's been a little over 24 hours since I poured this resin over. You know, I can touch it and leave fingerprints on it, but what I want to show you is that I have some spots here that kind of where the resin did not flow over. It kind of opened up, I guess due to the wax or the PVA, but overall it looks pretty good. It's not necessarily a hard shelf, it's more like a rubbery. I can dig my nail into it a little bit. So overall it looks okay. I do have to scratch this up or sand it, you know, kind of rough up the surface of this so that the new resin will adhere to this resin, because it's, you know, now it's really smooth, so I need to sand it a little bit so it can open up and have you know, a way for the new resin to get a grip onto the resin, to this coat of resin here.
don't stop.
Alright, it's been a little over 48 hours since I last did the last coat. So there's 3 layers here. I got 3 layers and poured resin up to the line here and up to the line there. So I didn't go all the way over. Well, I had a little bit of extra resin towards the end, so I don't know. I just kind of poured it in here and poured a little bit in here. Just for the heck of it, but everything else seemed to have soaked pretty well. That's it. It's been 48 hours, and now I'm going to attempt to, separate it from the wooden mold. Let's see how that turns out. That's it. Look at that. That thing broke loose pretty good. This thing seems nice and sturdy. Three layers, and it's got the marine grade resin. Let's see if I can flip it upside down. PVA, this stuff just technically just comes right off, and I can respray the wooden mold again with PVA to do another part. So this is it. I do have some defects on these edges here from the first coat, and as you can see, I can pretty much just push it in with my fingers. So I will have to go back and cut all this stuff out, and this is where I'll use this stuff, microspheres, and this is pretty much fiberglass, just like in powder form pretty much. And the way that you use this is you mix it the same way with resin, the same amount, and you pretty much pour this in the resin and make like thick soup out of it, and you pour it, just pour it in there, or in my case will be brush it in there, and then sand it down to its shape. So I will have to do that, but so I guess it's just part of it. Unfortunately, I was not able to avoid these little bubbles along the edges. See, I can push this with my finger here, but not a big deal. I can even bondo it pretty much, which actually that's not a bad idea. I might just bondo it and reshape it back, and that's it. Just give it a nice sanding over the whole thing. Put a couple coats of primer and whatever color paint I want, and this is it. In the future, I guess these shapes here, I can cut out circles here or maybe here and install lights, rear lights or whatever I want to do with it. That's what I love about fiberglass, that you can pretty much do anything you want with it. This part here came out pretty smooth. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. This is the final product. I just have to paint it and mount it onto the back of the truck. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that, but it might be a combination of screws, rivets, and construction glue. The construction glue will be to prevent vibration, and then screws or rivets to permanently mount it. So that's the only thing that I have to do, other than fix these little tiny blemishes and prime and paint it, and that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned to see how that whole thing turns out. Thanks, guys.